All right, well, welcome everyone that has chosen to join us live for the Getting Involved at Miami session. I just want to remind everyone real quick before we jump in that we are being recorded. So that means that you can listen to this at another time, or if you hear from another peer or family member that wanted to jump in but missed it, to let them know that it is being recorded. And then use the chat box for your questions. So I do have some slides, so it'll be a little presentation-y at the beginning, but I'll be sure to leave some room for some question and answer time where we can go back and forth about some of the things you might want to learn more about. So as we jump in, I do want to make sure I introduce myself so you know who is talking at you. So my name is Tiffany Harrison. I'm one of the associate directors in the Student Activities and Fraternity and Sorority Life office here at Miami. I am, currently in my 6th academic year at Miami, and it is certainly a little different than any year than we've ever had. So Mark, if you want to hit the next slide. Like I said, it looks a little different, and we tried to prepare our students for that. We're still trying to prepare ourselves for what that looks like. And as you've probably heard from many staff at Miami, it's ever changing, and I think we're just trying to respond accurately to what information we currently have. So in terms of getting involved on campus, here are a few of the highlights of what looks a little different this semester. So the gatherings are smaller. We are encouraging groups of students together with those that they know where they've been, they know where they've been hanging out with. They can kind of mitigate some risk by doing that. Wearing face masks. So recently you might have seen that Miami released a statement saying that they prefer that people wear face masks both inside and outside in public settings. So it's a little different. So previously, if you were outside and able to social distance, you didn't really need a face mask. But now they're asking that you wear it at all times unless you are in your room or in the restroom or things like that. Social distancing. So we're not cramming a ton of students into tiny spaces. And so that's a little different for us. I think we normally welcome up this semester with 4,000 or 5,000 students walking around Mega Fair, and that looked a little different this semester. Like I said, no large-scale events, and so you'll see a little bit later I'll talk about the Miami Community Forever in a Day, which is our virtual homecoming and family weekend. So our large-scale events look a little different too. But what I have seen over the last, 10 weeks at this point, I have seen our students be really creative about the ways that they're engaging with each other. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those virtual opportunities that are around campus. Mark, I'm ready. Perfect. So before I talk about some of those virtual opportunities, I'm going to tell you about the fact that it's still important. So I think we look at 2020 and we're like, wow, what a wash of a year, right? Like nothing's going the way we were expecting. I don't get to do the things that I love to do, or the things that I love to do have to look a little different. It's still important for your student to get involved and get connected to campus, whether that is from home in their room where they live with you, or off campus, or even on campus in the residence halls. It looks different, but it's still important. It's still a semester where they need to look back and be able to say, I use the things that I learned in the classroom doing X, Y, and Z. And so if you've attended my session before, or if I talked to you over the summer, here are some of the highlights of reasons why students should get involved. And it comes mostly from employer surveys, right? They say they want to hear that your students can talk about what they learned in the classroom, but how they applied it. I was a treasurer of a student organization, and we learned pivot tables in Excel, and this is how I use them to track our funding or our funding requests, right? Growing your personal and professional network. And so joining a club organization, yeah, it looks different this semester, but everybody's navigating that at the same time. And so how are you growing your network and making connections with those? Skill development. So like I said, applying things that you learn in the classroom into extracurriculars, but also there's a lot of things that you learn by getting involved that you didn't know you needed to learn or to experience. And so whether that's managing conflict, or even putting together successful transition materials from one student leader to another. There's always something that can be learned. Our students who are involved are more likely to succeed academically, and they're more likely to find a sense of belonging and community, which I know, like I said, looks different this semester, but it's still happening among our students. So I wanted to just highlight a few of the things that our staff has been up to. So I think when we went virtual for the first start of the semester, a lot of questions of like, what's coming? What's the semester going to look like? What's going to be available for my student? And I promise you, when we went virtual for the semester, we did not kick our feet up and say, well, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. We have been kind of manipulating some of the things that we would traditionally do on campus, but also asking the question of, can you recreate something virtually that was previously held in person? And if not, what can we do instead? So we have provided some virtual opportunities for our signature events. Over the summer, you will ask me, are we having Mega Fair? And I said, I promise you there will be Mega Fair, but it might look a little different, and it did look different. So we hosted not only one, but 2 virtual Mega Fairs. We hosted one as the start of the semester happened back in August, and we had hundreds of student organizations, which was amazing, and thousands of students that attended. And then once students were able to move back onto campus, we did a second Mega Fair just to say, hey, there's still opportunities for involvement. There's still organizations who are looking for new members. Make sure you check it out again. And so between those 2 Mega Fairs, we engaged over 500 student organizations and 1,500 students. As part of our week of involvement, we hosted that Mega Fair. So we talked as an office and said, you know, I think we need to highlight some of our involvement opportunities over the course of the week. How do we do that? And so we hosted a week of involvement, which consisted of extra office hours with our SEAL ambassadors, so our student engagement and leadership ambassadors, which are students who connect with first-year students or any student on campus who are looking to get involved but just aren't quite sure how to navigate that. They don't know what student organizations are actually active in doing things. They don't know where to look if they want to start a new organization that they don't see. And so those students are a remarkable resource for our students looking to get involved. We hosted a panel for student leaders, and so a couple of students who have navigated it's hard to find community, I'm not really sure what I want to get involved in, how do I manage being involved in student organizations and my academics. We had a panel of those students who were able to talk through that experience and answer any questions that other students might have. We also hosted a Instagram takeover, which is definitely a different version of an event that we've done in the past, but an Instagram takeover by our programming board that highlighted how they can find things that are happening on campus. So as I mentioned, our programming board did an Instagram takeover. Our Miami Activities and Programming student programming board has been busier than they probably would have been under normal circumstances. They're hosting up to 7 events a week. Right now they are primarily online, but we are starting to dabble in some in-person programming. So we've been trying to find that healthy balance between keeping your students safe and keeping your students engaged and occupied and having something to do. So we are hosting our first in-person event this weekend. It is part of the Miami Community Forever in a Day. It is our yoga class, and so there's a limited number of student spots to participate in in-person yoga. So they should have received an email about that. We have about 90 spots open for students, and we will be laying out yoga mats that are at least 10 feet apart, if not farther apart, and then they're able to take those yoga mats with them when they go. So low contact, outdoors, spaced out. So we're going to try it and see how it goes. But that is just one of many opportunities. So I do want to highlight on my next slide what opportunities we have for your students to get involved. So they can find events that are happening on the Hub. And I know that you've heard about the Hub through orientation. Hopefully you've heard about the Hub through your students in the first couple of weeks of the semester. But the Hub is our virtual engagement platform. It lists all of our student organizations. I like to say it's online shopping for student involvement, right? They can go to a certain category, find an organization that they are interested in and see what they've been up to. They can also just scroll the main page to see what events are happening. And as part of my position, I am meeting with any students who are hosting in-person events to talk through how are you making it as clean, as safe, and as healthy as possible. And our students are getting incredibly creative about how they are building community among their organizations, and I am very excited about that. And then I've linked to the campus events calendar. So Mark will expedite this as a PDF, and then you will have, or export this as a PDF, and you will have access to these links through that. So although you can't click the screen now, you will be able to at some point. and I've linked to the campus events calendar. This is the MAP calendar, the Miami Activities and Programming Board, but it hosts all campus events for multiple organizations. And then I've also linked to the Enjoy Oxford calendar. I think a lot of our students forget that they live in a community that also is hustling and bustling and doing things for the people who live in the community. And so there's the Enjoy Oxford calendar. One of my favorite events that happens in Oxford through the beginning of the fall is the Oxford Farmers Market, and that is still available for your students to pop by and attend at their own leisure with friends that they are comfortable being around for that. And then I guess I want to ask for your help in encouraging your students to build smaller communities. So I think that this is not natural for 18 to 22-year-olds to navigate building community in smaller ways. I think they're expecting us to put them in a place where they're going to meet a lot of people, and those things are going to come up organically, and that just can't happen this semester. So I want to encourage you to encourage your student to be bolder, right? Sign up for a yoga event, even if you don't know that somebody that you might know might be there. So, right, sign up, see what happens. Attend an event that you wouldn't normally attend. Look for connections in unlikely places. And so reach out to your RA and say, hey, I've been thinking about doing this. Have you heard from anybody else in the residence hall who's been wanting to do this? There are a lot of student groups who are getting kind of antsy, and they're planning hikes and trips to Butterfield Farms, and they're exploring different areas of campus that is usually packed with people, that they're just finding nooks and crannies of campus to explore. And remind them that everyone's in the same boat, right? Everyone's having a semester that they're not super thrilled about, or that they're navigating differently, or that isn't meeting expectations. Everyone's in the same boat, and there's a little bit of community to be made in that, right? And I like to say that to even the first-year students during orientation. They're like, I don't know how I'm going to make friends. I don't know how I'm going to meet people. Well, everybody's looking to make friends, and everyone's looking to meet people. And so how do you use that to your advantage? And then Mark from my, yeah, thanks. So I've linked to a couple of our social media accounts. We know that that's where our students live. We do send weekly newsletters, but a majority of the events or what's happening on campus, or new campus resources, or new campus guidelines for health and safety are usually pushed out on our social media accounts. So the first three are directly related to our office. That is, the first one is the Miami Student Activities Office account. The second one is the Fraternity and Sorority Life Office account. And a third one is the Programming Board account. And then our Student Life Office has done a phenomenal job about pushing information out in a timely manner as it relates to COVID-19 updates, or on-campus events and programming, or even, how do you make your own face mask, right? So timely stuff that I think is always really helpful. And then can't hurt to follow Miami University, right? They're always pushing out things that are relevant and important and need to know. And I did mention we send weekly newsletters. So every Wednesday, your student will get a newsletter that says, here's everything that the programming board is putting on this week. And in this week's newsletter that went out yesterday, I counted 9 different things that are opportunities for your students to jump into. And then on this last bullet point, I've linked to the Student Life blog, which listed focus on things that you can do instead of all the things that you can't do. I think that makes a big difference in the semester. I, for sure, am not sitting behind my computer trying to get people to not do things. I'm sitting behind my computer trying to make sure that they're being creative and they're flexing what they can do, and they're working within the boundaries of that creatively. And so I've linked to a blog post where they focused on what are all the things that are awesome about being a student at Miami and in Oxford, and how do you navigate those resources. And then I mentioned earlier, Miami Community Forever in a Day. So our Homecoming and Family Weekend has gone virtual this year. We talked about how can we recreate things that are special and important to Miami in a way that still makes them meaningful and important, and gives you a way to connect with your students. And so I have linked to the calendar of events, but that kicks off tomorrow. The first event will start, let me pull up the webpage so I can link from that. There is a welcome video from President and Dr. Crawford on the welcome page, as well as a list of events. So our events are kind of broken up into 3 categories of They're happening at a specific time, so sign up, log in. Math is hosting an escape room, so if you want to hop into a virtual escape room with your student and struggle through trying to get out and trying to answer those questions or solve those problems, that is available tomorrow evening, and you'll sign up through a link on that site. There are ongoing activities to be completed on specific deadlines, and so there are competitions, decorate your space things. I've seen a lot of really creative at-home learning spaces that you'll have created for your students, and so that could be part of the Celebrate Your Decorating contest. And then there are opportunities that are available open-endedly. So a lot of these are sessions that have been previously recorded and put on the website. So if you were on campus and you were double booked one year and you missed the evolution of our campus and student life presentation, you're able to view that at your own leisure, which was pretty awesome. So there's a good amount of stuff on the Forever in a Day landing page, and I would encourage you to pop over there. And then if you're missing your student this week and you wish you were in Oxford, feel free to send them a gift card to go eat at a Bagel and Deli. I'm sure that they would love that. Or send them a gift card to your favorite spot that you used to eat with them when you come to visit on family weekend. That's a great way to connect with them and with the Oxford community. And then I've linked here some important links. So on our landing page for student activities, there's a student organization guidance page that is continuously being updated with what is happening now, what is most relevant to keep in mind as a student organization planning events or hosting meetings on campus, and that is updated in real time and the best place to go for that information. So if you have a student who's a member of a student organization trying to navigate that, either send them directly to me or send them to this landing page, which will also eventually guide them to me as well. I've linked to the coronavirus landing page. So this is different than the dashboard, but it keeps up-to-date announcements from the university, also links to important FAQ pages and phone numbers and things like that. But I've also linked separately to the testing, contact tracing, and FAQ page. I know I've gotten a lot of questions about, I'm in a student organization and someone in my organization tested positive. What happens now? And so these are some links to those pages as well as health services. And so that's where your students can go. Should they develop any symptoms or aren't feeling well, they can contact health services and talk through what that might look like. All right, so I am going to open it up for questions at this time. I think we already have a few that were sent on, so give me just 1 minute to catch up on that. And if you have any questions, feel free to pop those in the chat and we'll get to as many as we can. So I got how many students does it take to start your own club or organization, and how do they go about doing that? So I mentioned our SEAL ambassadors. They are the best first stop for anybody who's looking to start a club or organization. So there is a landing page on our website that talks through what you need to become a new student organization. I think it is 10 people who will be active members. You need a constitution, so kind of works through what is your mission as an organization, what is your purpose for being on campus, like what drives you to want to host events or to gather as an organization. And then there are a few trainings that your organization needs to go through just to learn how to navigate campus resources and how to apply for funding, things like that. So it's not an arduous process, it's pretty easy. We open up new student organizations twice a semester, and those dates are also listed up on our website as well. So the other question I got are, first, your students got an email telling them to start thinking about housing for sophomore year. How does that work if your first year wants to join a sorority since sororities live in certain dorms? So you'll move forward with your residence hall selection process, and then if you go through recruitment and you become a member of a sorority here on campus, there is a housing contract that you sign that says, I know that I, as a member of X sorority, am expected to live in a sorority corridor, and then you sign that, and then they reassign you to the whatever residence hall your sorority lives in. And then we will likely host a second year housing webinar in November, and they'll talk about the different options for that. Fraternity houses off campus, sorority housing, second year housing on campus, all of that. If you get any more questions about that. Somebody asked, can we reasonably expect that anything will significantly change between now and Thanksgiving break, or is it likely that what we described will essentially be the first semester experience given COVID? So the hope is hopefully more in-person events outside while we still can. So for those of you that are from the Midwest, specifically Ohio, it was 40 yesterday morning, 90 yesterday evening, and it plans to rain at some point in the next 3 days. So while the weather is cooperating with us, we will be outside and socially distanced as much as possible. We are hoping to move inside once it gets chilly and uncomfortable to be outside, and we're just working through what our capacity for some of our spaces are. A lot of our spaces were converted into classroom spaces, so we're also navigating what that looks like. How do you flip a room and keep it safe and clean and then flip it back to make sure that our classes can still happen. And then also just kind of tracking, now that we're doing our first in-person events, are we seeing certain spikes? Like, is there a certain population of those that are attending in-person events that are becoming more sick? So we just want to make sure that we're giving everyone time to track and to reassess based on current information. But the hope is more in-person stuff with the health and safety guidelines that are appropriate for the time. But you can expect that throughout the rest of the semester, face masks will be used, social distancing will be used, or encouraged. And if an event can happen virtually or can have a virtual component, we are encouraging that you at least give people the option of attending virtually if they don't feel comfortable attending in person or aren't in Oxford or aren't on campus. And so you can expect that through the rest of the semester and quite possibly into the spring semester as well, just as we continue to educate ourselves on what's going on. So they're asking, I got another question about clarifying the yoga event this weekend. We are making a weather call for yoga on Friday morning. So if there is no in-person portion of the yoga event on Saturday, we will continue with our live stream. So our live stream will be on YouTube and on Facebook. You can find out more information about how to join yoga through the Miami Activities and Programming Instagram or their landing page on the website. And your student should also have received an email about it for that. And then, so they aren't available through Zoom. It'll be through Facebook Live and through YouTube. And there will be a virtual portion to yoga, whether or not the weather cooperates with us. And so your student has the option of attending in person until the spots are full, or virtually if the spots become full or if the weather is bad. Doesn't look like there are any other questions right now. I know I introduced myself at the beginning of the session, but again, I'm Tiffany Harrison, and I work in the Student Activities Office and Fraternity and Sorority Life Office here on campus. And so if you think of questions after the session, feel free to hunt me down or to send me an email at the Student Activities email, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate you taking the time to prioritize your students' involvement and to learn a little bit more about what their options are. And I look forward to hearing from you or seeing you eventually in the future. Thank you all.